All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to now talk about Andy Reid and his mindset going into this game. Because, like I talked about earlier in the show, and obviously, whenever we've talked about this game, is just the fact that the Chiefs are on the doorsteps. They're really on the doorsteps now of history. And he made an appearance on the Rich Eisen show, and he was asked about the three-peat, the possible three-peat. And he said, I haven't heard one mention of it. I haven't mentioned it. I don't plan on mentioning it, but I'm also not naive enough to know that they've heard it. I mean, I've heard it a ton up to this point, and I'm sure I'll hear it more this next week down in New Orleans. We all know that's out there, but what matters is how you take care of business. What's going to help you is that you focus in and take care of business today while we're doing our practices or in the meetings we have today. Take care of that, and everything else, you let the chips fall where they may. So nobody internally, it seems, is talking about it. Now, they did bring it up last year at the parade when they won. Because if you remember, Mahomes brought it up that they're going to go for the three-peat now. But now that the season, now that they're in the middle of it, they're in the thick of this journey. I mean, they're towards the end of the journey now. Now they just have one last obstacle. Now it's like, all right, we got to get our minds right, focus, and be able to get over this one last thing, and then they could talk about it all they want. And, the Chiefs are going to be prepared for this game coming up. And you don't want the possible three-peat to be a distraction. Because, that can open the door up for negative things that come. And this is the biggest game of the year. And the Chiefs have been to this game a lot in recent years, so they know what's expected of them. Now, on the other side, you got a very good football team that has also been to the Super Bowl. They did lose to the hands of the Chiefs, but they've been there. So they know what's expected of this game, too. So, if there's any coach that I trust in this kind of spot right now, it's Andy Reid. Just because they know how to get their minds right, and it's just they just have done a lot of winning over the last few years. And look, I think most people know where I'm leaning towards this game, but I think that's going to continue. Although it's going to be a very close game, but the Chiefs seem to know how to handle these close games. But yeah, it's look, like I said, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game, but how are they going to handle this if it's tight this time around, But yeah, they're all definitely thinking it like, hey, we're really close, and maybe behind closed doors, maybe like, off to the side, some players are talking about it, not in Andy Reid's presence, but it's definitely on players' minds that they have a chance to make history. And, it's something that could possibly not be done again. This could be the only time you ever have a chance to see a team three-peat. Now, a lot of people probably don't want to see it because people are suffering from Chiefs fatigue, and we talked about that last week. But at this point for me, I mean, it doesn't bother me. If they get the three-peat, you'd say, hey, I was able to see it. But only time will tell. We are almost there. We're 6 days away. I can't believe it, but that's where we're at. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun one. But yeah, it's just you don't want it to distract players. because, then they screw up in a game, and then all of a sudden you're like looking at, oh, well, guess we're not getting it now. And I don't think this Eagles team is a team that you don't want to make mistakes. Because you saw what happened in the championship game with the Commanders. The Commanders turned the ball over, and then all of a sudden, 55-23 happens. And the Chiefs actually lost the turnover battle against the Bills, and they still won. Now, granted, there was only one turnover in the game. But the Bills could have turned it over a bunch of times because Josh Allen had 4 fumbles, but they recovered all of them. Don't want to make mistakes against this Eagles team, and you don't want some kind of outside distraction affecting what goes on inside with this game, which, like I said, I don't think it's going to happen. But you want to treat this game, you want to treat this Super Bowl as one game going in. The other 2 Super Bowls, the other previous 2 Super Bowls, and the other, previous 2 before that, the first one that they won and then the one they lost to Tampa, that doesn't affect this game. You got to focus on Sunday, take it one play at a time, one drive at a time, and go from there. I'm not trying to motivate the Chiefs, but I'm just saying you want this three-peat, but you gotta focus on just this game right here, and then if they're able to win it, then they'll get it. I mean, with Media Day coming up, they will be asked about it. It's going to be talked about a lot, and they'll give their best answers to it without making it come off like it's going to be a guarantee. Well, I don't think they would say, "Oh, we're going to win this thing." Well, they'll probably say leading up to the game, but not, I guess when they're addressing the media. But behind closed doors, they're going to say we're going to win this thing. And I think we all know that the Chiefs are thinking of it. They're thinking that. Because they've been here so many times. They know what's expected. But they're going up against a very good football team. And I'm going to keep saying that. These are arguably the 2 best teams that are going at it right now. And the Chiefs are going to have their hands full. The Eagles are going to have their hands full. And, we'll see if a turnover makes a big difference in this game. Because, like I said, we saw what happened in the NFC Championship game when the Commanders turned it over a bunch of times. The Eagles still have not turned the ball over yet in these playoffs. Unless you want to count the safety. And then for the Chiefs, they turned it over once against the Bills, but they still won the game. So, can the Eagles be the team that knocks off the Chiefs and prevents them from getting the three-peat? They definitely can. They definitely can. But we'll have to wait. But like I always say, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But it's important, though, that, the Chiefs have a guy like Andy Reid leading the team. Because you wonder, what if the roles were reversed and the Eagles had a three-peat on their mind? And Nick Sirianni, with all the complaints people have towards him, the team the Eagles have made the playoffs every single year he's been a head coach. So he's got to be doing something right. But how would Nick Sirianni handle something like this? Well, we got to see them win first. Because, Nick Sirianni's kind of got a different style to him, a different kind of attitude than Andy Reid. And we saw the Eagles last year, what happened when things started to unravel over a stretch of games. Like how would he be able to handle something like this? That's why I think it's important also the Chiefs have Andy Reid in place. Like a veteran head coach. I mean, Nick Sirianni is a veteran coach, but not like Andy Reid is. With and same thing with Belichick. I mean, the Patriots could have three-peated, towards the end of the dynasty there. It's just in between the two championships. They lost one to Nick Foles, and Tom Brady threw for over 500 yards in that game. And people kind of blame Belichick because he benched Malcolm Butler, and the Patriots secondary got torched in that game. But yeah, I basically when it comes to this, I mean, you like to have that veteran leader, that experienced leader that you know, and this Chiefs team, I mean, they got the main core is still there from this run. You got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, Andy Reid, of course, Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, a lot of the guys that, I mean, still, I mean, this team has changed a lot since Mahomes first started. But like I said, the main core of it is still there. And, I know I was talking about how would Nick Sirianni handle this, but, they still got their guys too. They still got their main core. I mean, it hasn't been for as long as the Chiefs, but, you've had A.J. Brown for a few years now. Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson. Nick Sirianni, of course, has been there. So, probably they would obviously deal with a potential three-peat a different way, but again, who knows? But let me know what you guys think about the Chiefs' mindset or Andy Reid's mindset going into this game. Do you think that the three-peat on their minds could be a potential distraction for them? I don't think it will. They'll be ready for it. But let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So when we come back from our next break, we will talk about Sam Darnold and his stock kind of declining because of the rough playoff game that he had against the Rams and, even before that, the regular season finale against the Lions. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.